All right, so I'm going to recite this letter that Ursula Bielski sent to both the Forest Preserve District of Cook County and the Real Estate Management Office of Cook County. And dear Mr. blah blah blah. We don't have to give names right now, right? It says, I hope you are both well. I am writing on behalf of the volunteers at and advocates of Everton Woods and Bachelors Grove Cemetery who have really reached an endpoint with Pete Crapia, the Adopt-A-Site leader for Everton Woods and self-appointed guardian of Bachelors Grove Cemetery. We have contacted Joe, I won't mention all his last names, twice about the growing problems with him and have not wanted to bring this to a higher level, but really have no choice. I just spent another entire day, 5 total now in the past 4 months, fixing my business and personal websites after Pete Crapia hacked into them Saturday night and broke links, deleted content, and slated my sites for deletion. He has been hacking into my business site and into our Bachelors Grove social media pages and personal media pages, as well as the social media pages of my children for months, posting my personal information on the internet and generally harassing me and other volunteers. Well, the way that starts off with is pretty fucked up. We have refrained from filing police reports, even though other colleagues have. Okay, and over many years, because we did not want to bring further problems into the Bachelors Grove situation, worried that the county may halt the restoration efforts. And that's pretty much what she's doing with this letter. That's designed to put a halt to it. However, the testimonies of the others are readily available at your request. Pete has tormented other advocates of Bachelors Grove, placed listening devices in the cemetery, their homes, and cars, and tried to prevent anyone but himself from advocating for Everton Woods or for the cause of the restoration of the cemetery for years. This has to stop. This is fucking hilarious and pretty disturbing. We have tried to work with Pete despite his criminal actions against us. Yet he has repeatedly and criminally reacted, hacked our sites, told us we are not welcome at county-backed cleanups, and yesterday, back when this was written or whatever, he told me that you, won't mention name, and Joe told him to call the police if we show up for cleanups again. That's actually technically correct, but I can get into why. That the county has already approved him as the one who will receive the permit for restoring the grove, and that he is in charge and we are to do what he says, which is kind of true. But I'm going to go back through this letter to really identify some of the things that she's talking about. Some of the other things are just fucking whack. A number of us volunteers broke ties with Pete in September after the very successful picnic that we volunteers organized and paid for, after discovering that he had not been cooperating with the state to obtain the necessary permits for restoration of the cemetery and fraudulently soliciting volunteers and donations for this cause. Dawn, last name omitted, of the Illinois Historic Preservation Agency, and Angie, last name omitted, of the Association for Gravestone Studies, contacted me to find out who was doing the restoration work at the Grove because Pete had not pursued the proper permits in almost 15 years of purporting to be the caretaker of the site. And this is how we found this out. As you know, we have gone our own way in doing our work at Everton and Bachelors Grove. We are there once or twice a week or more to pick up garbage, collect information and history, take visitors around the area that come to explore. We have dozens of volunteers at the ready to assist us, and did everything the county asked to carry out the wreath laying we wanted to do in December at the Grove, including obtaining dozens of signed waivers, one for every single person who came. We are We are working with Dawn at the state to do what we need to do to obtain the permits to do Illinois cemetery restoration, should the county wish to go forward with these efforts. We are presenting a multimedia exhibit at Blue Island Library in June, showcasing the history of the Grove, and have had nothing but good wishes for our work. We have corporate and donated money to give to these efforts, endless hours of time and good faith. Not too much further with this letter, I think. I have been researching in Chicago history with an emphasis on folklore and paranormal folklore for 25 years and have written 9 books. My business is an Illinois corporation in good standing for 10 years, and I am a longtime member of the Chicago Chamber of Commerce. I have been researching at Bachelors Grove since 1988 when I assisted at the first academic studies there. Published in the Journal of Perceptual and Motor Skills, with James, name omitted. I do the right thing. The right, professional thing. Our volunteers worry about raking or cleaning in a cemetery without a permit. And yet Pete is breaking every law with no one stopping him. We're really at an impasse here and don't know what else to do. I actually had a 3-way conversation via messaging with Pete and Angie, at her request, a few weeks ago, because she and Dawn at the state are trying to get all of us to work together there, and he is making things impossible. He continues to lie to the state about our intentions at Bachelors Grove, to post personal information about us on his Bachelors Grove websites that heavily reference the FPD, Forest Preserve District, and to ban us from cleanups. Several of us showed up to his most recent cleanup in February. We were the only ones there, and yet he told us we were not welcome, and he called us names, including calling me a dumbass. He was also lighting a bonfire, which we don't think he was supposed to do without a master steward present. Oh boy. She's pretty fucking dumb. Last week, Pete told me that if he is ever forced to speak with us, he will. But until then, to get lost, or I will show you what I am capable of when it comes to pain. This has just gone too far. We have these text messages, these threats that can be given to you. This is totally unacceptable, that he is the adopt-a-site leader for this preserve, and is not only turning away volunteers, but threatening them. We told the state we would work with him in good faith, and he is completely without good faith and totally unstable. There is no other, and have been no other odds between anyone else. He has been the only one who did not want to work with anyone else. Pete has some very informative information online about the area, but as a longtime researcher, I know he has not even really made much of an effort in that regard. None of us really know what he is trying to accomplish. He has been standing in the way of progress at the Grove for years, and he literally stood in the way of it when we tried to clean up there last month. This just can't happen anymore. We love the woods and the cemetery. We love the preserves and feel very disappointed in the county that he is still doing whatever he pleases despite all that has been laid on the table about Pete, from many different sources, over quite some time. Can we sit down together sometime? Andy, you hinted at this back in November. We would love nothing more than to talk to both of you, and hopefully Anna as well, about Bachelors Grove and all the nuisances of its public appeal. Nuances. We know you have myriad issues, but this little site is probably more sensational than some of your loop buildings, Andy, and certainly a recurring issue for you, Mike. We know so much about it. Can you talk to us sometime just for 15 minutes? We know you are at different offices, and we are happy to come to both for a few minutes to speak with both of you. Kindly, Ursula Bielski, Chicago Hauntings Incorporated, with Carl Kochman and many others. The Path to Bachelors Grove. Wow. Okay, so yeah, it is a lengthy letter. 1, 2, 3. 3 pages. I was going to print it out and like recite it at the Grove or something, but anyway, I could do this here indoors. Now I need to go through this remember, this letter is just a defamation kind of thing, just to get rid of the Grove Restoration Project. But what's interesting is when you go through some of these items, some of them are not going to make any sense. So I don't even know how to fucking respond to some of it. And then, but like comments like me calling her dumbass, oh, that totally. And I'm going to be able to prove how much of a fucking dumbass she is. So, let me pause this. Alright, so I want to go through this entirely. Again, some of it I won't even know how to respond. So let's see, paragraph 2 here says, I spent another tired day, 5 total now. Anyway, fixing my business, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, broken links, deleted content on her site, whatever. Slated my sites for deletion. Okay, there was a point in the past where Carl and Ursula, they had the path to Bachelors Grove, and there was something going on where it was a Facebook page, and they shared access to this thing, and they got into a fight one day, and then apparently Ursula deleted it for she wanted to delete the page or something. So that's the only thing I can speak to right now. But that's what that has to do with. That's their own shit. What else is there? I should probably add Carl at one point. He had spoken to me about this, asked me if I deleted the page, and then he obviously was convinced she did it because it just so happened on the night they got into a fight about ownership of the page or some sort of fight that it just so happens to be deleted. Yeah, you know, because that totally was anyway. Posting personal information on the internet. I've only posted text messages of hers about her kissy with Carl, because people weren't even believing it. But there's like all this other shit in here. I don't even know how to respond. But you heard it, so you get the idea of what she's fucking saying here. Okay, we have refrained from filing police reports even though other colleagues have. Now, again, I don't know how to really respond to this, but really? What police reports? Because that's an easy one. Go ahead. Start doing some FOIAs. Contact FPD, Cook County Forestry Police, maybe Cook County Sheriffs, whatever. Apparently, if something was going on, you got every right to get access to it under FOIA law. So let's continue here. All right, and then there's one in here where it's like Pete's tormented other advocates, blah, 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 placed listening devices in the cemetery, their homes and cars, prevented anyone from... Now, there's this thing about the cars. That night that that they were screaming outside my house, and I had to tail them, and I had a video of it, they found it hard to believe that I could have caught up with them. And it's all on video, you know, it's like, you know, I wasn't running a tracking program, and I wasn't running surveillance, and dude, I used my eyeballs, you know, like, again, there's so much shit here. Ugh. All right, so now we come to, told us we are not welcome at county back cleanups, and yesterday he told me that you, and blah, told him to stop, told him to call the police if we show up for cleanups again. This was about the, after the picnic and after all the bullshit went down, where they were causing these problems. And it wasn't very healthy for them to be around the other volunteers. I told them, hey, go for it. Go ahead and apply for your own permit, do your own separate cleanup, that's fine. I don't think the public needs to deal with the drama. Right? That kind of shit. When I came to find out, though, is that my contact, Joe, at the Forest Preserves, for this particular site at Bachelors Grove Cemetery, he's like, well, there's already an established group, so they really can't, according to him, no other group could get involved in any other way. And that's not really true, because the cemetery itself is not a part of the Forest Preserves. They could go through the real estate management office if they wanted to do something. And I made this very clear to Ursula and Carl. Whether I knew they didn't really care about the forest preserves, regardless of whatever they say. I mean Carl might like the preserves, but he might be like the closest person that comes to it. But she don't give a shit. So, hey, I tried to help them. I told Joe this is what they wanted to do. This is the drama going on. Plus, with the whole Carl smoking marijuana bit in the past, that got no real resolve out of it, you know. And it's just like one thing after another with Carl and Ursula. Like, they just didn't need to be involved when the Grove Restoration Project was out there doing stuff, because all they were doing was just causing a ruckus. So let's go on with this. Well, so before I continue, you know, yeah, normally I would let somebody just jump back in, do the work if they're forced to work with me, which I'll get to somewhere else in the letter about this. But you know, her and Carl were a special circumstance, and we didn't need to go. We didn't need their involvement. We didn't need to put up with their shit, basically. And so that was pretty much the end of it. It's like, well, if they're not giving you a permit, even though I told you to go through the real estate office for the cemetery itself, like if you don't want to go through this trouble yourself, if you just want to show up at things that I organized for everybody, you know, because you're too lazy to do it yourself, so well, then that sucks for you. But I told you how to do it, Ursula. You didn't want to do it. All right, this is an interesting one. So it goes on, a number of us volunteers broke ties with Pete in September after the very successful picnic. That was the Memories of Tomorrow picnic with the trolley and stuff. That we volunteers organized and paid for after discovering that he had not been cooperating with the state to obtain the necessary permits. And it goes on and on. This is not true. In fact, I kept documentation about permits and everything. It's available at bachelorsgrove.com. It's in the Grove Restoration Project section, and if you look at official documents, there's a bunch of PDFs and all sorts of things that I've gotten. So nobody could ever say that I didn't get this or that or the other thing. And as far as working with Angie, that's another complicated topic. Let's see here, which I should probably get to that at some other point. But let's go on with this letter. So I'm going to skip one paragraph here because it's kind of like she's just promoting herself or something, trying to make herself sound nice and good and all that shit. Then we'll get to her researching in Chicago history with an emphasis on folklore and paranormal folklore for 25 years, written many books and all this shit. She says her Illinois corporation is in good standing for 10 years, although I know she's had some issues in Chicago with her business for not following the rules. Let's see here. And then she goes on to say that she's been researching Bachelors Grove since '88 because she went out with a couple dudes and was put inside some paper out of University of Illinois. Sounds all like fancy and schmancy and all that, right? In fact, that's available in the archives. So you can reference that under Journal of Perceptual and Motor Skills with James. Let's see here. Anyway, that's what was on my mind with this. She hasn't really been interested in Bachelors Grove to the level that she ever claims to be, because I would have been speaking with her all these years. Things would have been so much different. She would have been publishing other things. You know, her books would have had better material in it. There's just so many holes in her. Look, she don't give a shit. Besides making money and all that, she really don't give a shit about the history of the place and doing anything about it. So let's go on. All right, so this is the good one. In this next paragraph, it says, blah, 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 blah. He continues to lie to the state. Let's skip down here. Bans us from cleanups. Okay, several of us showed up to his most recent cleanup in February. This is when I was going to kind of do away with the Grove Restoration Project because of how negative things were getting. And so I went out there with this guy named John. It was only me and him, and that's the way it works. I go out there. You need a master steward. I was the master steward, and then you need one other person with you. And and he was highly qualified to be with me. He went to classes and stuff. So it's just me and him. And well, she supposedly randomly, just shows up. Okay, I don't find it random, but she showed up herself, Carl, some other friend, two other people. They weren't really volunteers. Okay. Now, she says here, we were the only ones there, and yet he told us we were not welcome, and he called us names, including calling me a dumbass. He was also lighting a bonfire, which we didn't think he was supposed to do without a master steward present. Okay. First of all, this master steward shit, she's going around telling everybody that, oh, I have no official capacity with the Forester District, because I'm not a master steward. You can look at my certificate right there in the archives under Grove Restoration Project at bachelorsgrove.com. And, right there. She is a dumbass. That's why I called her a fucking dumbass. Because she would just ramble on about the stupidest shit when she showed up out there. It was like, dude, normally, see, nobody else was out there besides me and John, and whoever she brought with, which was insignificant. I knew these people, but whatever, it was insignificant. They were just her little lackeys. Professionalism, I could put that to the side. So yeah, I'm going to just say, you're a fucking dumbass. Don't be telling me what I'm doing is illegal. Maybe, hey Ursula, maybe if you actually showed up for a real cleanup, which you only did for like 10 minutes once, you never understood the process. You never understood what went on behind the scenes. You would have known. If you actually were researching Bachelors Grove, you were dating me for a couple months, your fucking ears open? No, you don't give a shit. You didn't pay attention to what was going on. All that was on your fucking mind was, how am I going to get this information? How am I going to write this book? And how am I going to get the tours in there? The tour thing was a big deal to you. That's what this fucking letter is about, folks. She wanted the Grove Restoration Project fucking kicked the fuck out. Okay, and she wanted another agent or a group that was capable of locking up the place so that she can have her own little personal way of doing tours there. Anyway, yeah, Ursula, you're a dumbass. Let's go on to this other shit. Alright, last week, Pete told me that if he is ever forced to speak with us, he will. But until then, to get lost, or I will show you what I am capable of when it comes to pain. These threats, blah, 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 it's totally acceptable. They have text messages, site leader, crap, whatever. Yeah, I was told that I didn't need to speak with them. The Forest Preserve told me, look, you already had an established group there. There's already an established group. Apparently it's Grove Restoration Project. So they couldn't work. We couldn't work together at a certain point. Technically, according to what they told me, I didn't need to fucking talk to them anymore. It didn't matter. Yeah, it looks bad and all that shit, but really, it's on them. So they could have gone to the real estate management office, done the things in the cemetery that were separate from the forest preserves. Okay? And they could have just gone their own way. All right? They didn't want to do that. They want everyone else to do their own fucking work anyway. Let's see, capable of when it comes to pain. Yeah. At that point, her calling me a fucking, like, I'm not a master steward, I'm doing all this illegal shit. She's, like, spewing all this shit out of her mouth. It's like, it fucking pisses you off to a point where it's like, get the fuck out of here. Okay? She was texting me after this. And it was just like, showing her what it comes to pain is like, yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna have to fucking tell everybody you're bullshit. Create this fucking, add to the drama, creating pain. This didn't have anything to do with, I'm gonna beat you down and shit or anything like that. This was about, you're inflicting so much pain on the efforts out there, trying to ruin everything for everybody, that I'm not going to let you just step in and have your way. I'm going to inflict pain on your fucking little agenda and not let you get your little tours. And, I'm not going to help you with your little book. That failure of a book, too. I didn't even get to read it yet, but I already know. People are talking. Because apparently you whine that it's already a failure. Oh, no. All right, let's go on with this. All right. So Pete has some very informative information online about the area, but as a longtime researcher, I know he has not even really made much an effort in that regard. Bitch. All ego aside for me, I've gotten tons of compliments throughout the years. There's a lot of information available on this site. It's great. They talk about that. They make comments like that on TV and radio and all this bullshit. So, I haven't really made much effort in that regard about researching this area. Okay. Yeah, it sounds kind of like John Stevenson from the Bachelors-Grove.com site and Edward Shanahan in his little podcast saying, yeah, I don't think there's anything really available online about Bachelors Grove. You might have to just visit a local historical society or something, That's what the equivalent is. It's like, whatever, dude. What else is in here? None of us really know what he is trying to accomplish. Ursula, you know exactly what I was trying to accomplish. You make... Whatever, man. I've been standing in the way of progress. Yeah, I put up with so many headaches all these years. Yeah. And so I've just been staying in the way of progress. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm really holding everything back. That's why I went through all this trouble. I whatever. This just can't happen anymore. We love the woods of the cemetery. No, you don't. Yeah, the rest of it's just kind of bullshit. And then she goes on to just talk about wanting to meet up so they can talk. I did skip one paragraph. It was like, things crossing my mind. Where she brings up like her kids. She throws her kids into the mix. That's pretty fucked up. That I'm fucking with her kids. First, Ursula, you know that I was seeing your kids kind of like daughters to me in that way. It was cool. It was fine. And you're trying to fucking use your kids as some sort of like ammunition for some bullshit. You got no integrity, woman. And then after I let you have, that's essentially what this is. I let you have a restraining order after I had you arrested for showing up at my house doing what you did. You did it to try to just spite me because you're just, because you're vindictive that way. I let you have a default order because I didn't show up. And then your kids tried contacting me. I got to call the police about it. I don't know. Did you hear about that? Because I told them to give you a call. Because I wasn't going to call you. That kind of violates your little court order, okay? You can't be having your kids speak for you, okay? To pass messages along to me. Anybody who knows about restraining orders knows what I'm talking about. But she overall has a pretty wild imagination on some things, but she's more of a sociopath. At least that's my experience with this. She's got some pretty fucked up issues. Oy, 3 pages worth of this shit. Well, if I forget anything, I guess I could always come back to this letter. But just so you know, this is the kind of shit I had to deal with. All because she couldn't have her way. Because she was butthurt over her own bullshit. God. Alright. I probably should at least touch on this. The whole Angie thing with... she's part of a group that goes out and restores these headstones, which is cool. And before I even had any contact with her before, years ago, I reached out to the real estate management office of Cook County, the legal owners of the cemetery itself, and I tried to get them involved because I went through Springfield with Dawn at the state that they're talking about in this letter. And according to the real estate management office, now I can just say it as it is, they, what was the quote? I don't want those fucking people in Springfield telling me what to do. Wow. That's what Andy at the real estate office told me over the phone once. And it's funny, then like a few years, or so many years later, you know, we get involved in this topic again about headstone stuff and the legal paperwork. And anyway, I guess it's kind of a moot point or something, but I've tried to do everything. I've tried to go through a lot of bullshit, and the headstone restoration was pretty much put on the back burner, in my opinion, because there were very few headstones available. I mean, it's more about uprighting a few stones for the most part, you know. So restoration, as far as nice 1800s era stones, let's face it sucks, but there's not much left there. So I wanted to move on more to turning it more into that park-like setting, the peaceful setting. Needs more foot traffic, needs to be safer, all this kind of stuff. And yeah, that was more my focus as time went on, because the real estate office didn't want to deal with those fucking, you know, people down in Springfield. Ay. What else is there? Yeah, so coincidentally though, around the time we had this picnic, before the Grove Restoration Project was pretty much, I had to throw in a towel, Angie had gotten in touch with me while I was dating Ursula. I didn't answer her back right away. I think it was a week or something. And, but Ursula was really excited about it because, well, she had her agenda. And she was really pushing me to get in touch with Angie, and I know why. You know, we can get into it, but then it's going to be here. She said bullshit, right? But that's how Angie got into, or Ursula got involved with Angie with this whole restoration, the stone restoration thing, and luckily that got dismantled because Angie doesn't want to work with a corrupt piece of shit like Ursula, which is good. Anyway, that's the letter. Not much more to it, I guess. Don't want to confuse you any more than I already have. But this is just for historical purposes, for people that want to know what the hell is going on to some degree. Don't trust that lady. Ursula Bielski. Annie, A-N-N-E. And Ursula Bielski. She's just trying to make a buck, man. That's all she's doing. Alright. Later.